Good morning. Good morning. Well, actually, it's good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to So Much Talent. Uh, I do apologize for coming in late, but I had a few technical challenges that I had to deal with, make sure everything was set up, working with two different cameras, so you can see that. But I wanted to revisit the series that we started a while back called Make It Work Mondays. I think it's what it's called. Lord Jesus. Make It Work Mondays. And so basically what that is that we're dealing with techniques and different things like that. And a lot of you have questions about how to do this, how to do that. And so I picked up on one of the comments. I had a question. Somebody actually sent me a question as far as how do I um, they were having problems hemming pants. All right, so the pants weren't coming out even. There was always bunching when you're making the folds. I don't know if it was a uh, like a uh, cuffed hem or just a regular hem. And so I wanted to talk about that. I want to show two different types of hems and the reason why there might be some bunching. So if you don't mind when you come in, click that link, the like button, and also share this out because other people want to see this content. This will be up, so people will be able to catch the replay. But I'm going to go ahead and try to share this out myself. Let's see. How can I share this out? So I probably was supposed to share this out beforehand. But if you get a chance to, you're watching it, just go ahead and hit that like button and share this out if you don't mind. And I'm hoping that you can see everything okay. Um, hope it comes out clear for you. I tried to set this up where it's clear enough so that you can see what I'm doing. So y'all bear with me because this is my first uh, time getting back and trying to do a dual video so that you can see the content that I'm sharing. So as I work this whole YouTube thing and sharing this out, you let me know how it is. Hey there, how art thou, Miss Gwen? Thank you for coming in. My Juki is a DDL 8700, and so definitely feel free. You have questions while I'm sharing this. Feel free to ask. So I'm gonna try to set this up where you can see this okay. Yeah, I knew exactly what you were saying. Autocorrect is a monster. I don't like it. All right, so a lot of times, and again, I'm doing hymns today, so thank you for joining me today for Make It Work Monday. Um, I want my plan is not to be on here every Monday, but I mean maybe every other Monday, maybe once a month. I haven't figured that part out yet. But as often as the questions come, I'll jot down your questions and comments and stuff like that, and try to address them. And most of these comments are coming from group members of So Much Talent. So if you're not a member of So Much Talent, come on over to Facebook side and join us in our group. It's an awesome group of sewers and crafters and creators, not just sewers. Um, there's, as I've said before, there's jewelry makers, shoemakers, hat makers, quilters, crocheters, doll clothes makers, just a myriad of different crafters. And so the whole basis of this group, the reason why I wanted to create it is because I want to showcase there's so much talent that's out there. But now we're in a whole blogosphere of sewers and crafters. You get to see that all over the place. But I want to remain true to the So Much Talent group, and so I promised to do this. So today, and I can't remember the young lady's name, and I hate that I can't, and I couldn't even scroll back to the comment, but she inboxed me and she wanted to know what to do about her hems. Every time she would try to hem her pants, they would never come out right. Like there was just bunching and scrunching. So I kind of imagined what was going on. And if your pants are not straight, if they're not a straight cut pant and you're trying to hem them, and again, I do apologize if you can't see this, but I'm gonna try to demonstrate this as much as possible. You can see this a little bit right here. When I fold this pants, let me do it on this side. When I fold this up, there's probably about a 3/8 of an inch or a quarter of an inch that's not meeting the side seam here. So what that means is that this particular cut, and I'm only using a piece of fabric as an example, but this particular cut pant is not a straight cut. It's not a straight down. Could be boot. Well, it's not boot cut. Boot cut is it goes out. Even with the boot cut, this can work in reverse. But this one's more of a tapered leg pant. And so if you're trying to hem this, the shorter part has to meet up to the wider part of the pants. And if you're trying to hem that and make it stretch, you're trying to make it meet the size. That's where you're going to come into problems. That's where you're going to get that bunching. I don't know if you can see that. And so, in order to remedy that, there's a way to get around that. You definitely have to hem this. I mean, obviously, you got to sew the side seams up, but you're going to have to make one end, the bottom part, the seam allowance where the hem, where you're folding the hem at. You're going to sew less of a seam allowance in that area and more the actual seam. Let me see if I can explain that correctly. Let me turn it this way. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and create like a little fold. Maybe most pants are hemmed, maybe 1.5 inch, maybe 1.25 inch, especially on men's pants. Just going to do a little finger pressing here. All right, and so I'm going to draw a line to where my hem is so you can see this. And please let me know how well you can see this or what, if there's challenges or what I need to do because I want to make this better. I want to make sure that the camera is focused in a little bit better so you can see. That means I might need to do more of an overhead. Um, Hang on. See if I can get this, change this around. Okay, this might be a little bit better here. All right, so you can see where I drew the line where the hem is. So once I fold this up to the line, I don't know if you can see right there, there's a little, go on this side. I have to always try to figure out my camera. Okay, so I don't know if you can see right there, there's a little discrepancy right there where it doesn't quite meet up right there. Can you all see that? All right, so that means there's about 1/4 inch that I need to release. Once I sew this seam allowance to the point of the hem, I need to release about 1/4 inch on each side so that it'll meet up. Okay. All right, let me get back over here. So what I'm going to do is fold this in here. I'm not going to sew it all the way down, just enough so you can see where the hem is. And I should have made it a little bit wider because that's more like a little sleeve or cuff. All right, so right here, let's say we're going to do a 5/8 inch seam allowance. All the way down. Okay, I'm going to do that 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way down to all the way down to where that line meets. And then I'm going to do a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So I'm eliminating 1/4 inch so I can make sure that that meets. All right. And so I'm going to make that's at the very tip end. That's at the very hem. Can't see that. All right, so right at the hem, I'm doing a more narrow hem, a more narrow seam allowance because I'm taking into account that I have to make sure that this part that I'm folding upward is going to meet in with the seam allowance or meet in and fill all that space up in here. So what I'm going to do, because there's that seam allowance here, I got to make sure that the seams meet up, or the stitching line, I'm sorry. Yeah, the stitching line and the seams meet up. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to take a little bit more narrow stitching line there. And then I'm going to make that meet up here. All right. So if you can see what I did here, this is where my hem is right here. That's where the fold is. But I got to make sure that this part, when it's finished, that it's going to lay flat against this area here. Okay. And so now on the back side, let me do a 5/8 inch seam allowance so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. All right, so I'm going to fold this up. I'm actually going to stitch it so you can see it. But I'm going to fold this up right where the hemline is. Okay. So you can see now. Now what I did was a little bit more less seam allowance. Yeah, I don't know what happened just then. Oh, it switched. I don't know why it switched. That's funny. All right, so can you see right here? I've got it folded up. And so I decided on my own to take just a little bit, even less of a seam allowance. My fingers in the way. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't get that seam, can't get the camera right. It's awkward trying to do this. But this is where my stitching line is right here. All right. And I made it even more narrow. So I'm gonna sew where I made it narrow first. It might have been too much. So that means that this will be much wider than my seam allowance. I'd rather be wider than smaller, because then that I know it'll fit in place. I know it'll work. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Sound like I'm babbling. All right, so I'm gonna show you a straight hem too. All right, so I'm not gonna sew the whole thing up, just enough so you can see it. All right. I'm gonna follow the line that I did. I'm gonna stitch up to the fold line. Put my needle right there at the fold line, and then I'm gonna pivot a little bit and stitch on the seam line that I created. So I hope you can see that. Let me do it this way. Okay. So see that stitching line right there? So now we're going to fold this up and see how that works. Okay. All right. So see how that, I don't know if you can see it, laying my seam allowances flat. So yeah, I could have actually taken that up a little bit more, exactly what I said out. Originally I was taking up only 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which took away the 1/4 of an inch. All right, so but you can see right here, there's just a little bit extra right there, which is okay. I can just fold that in. But I measured that I needed a 1/4 of an inch in order to make that seam allowance meet. So now you can see that this meets all the way around, and there's no puckering. There's no pucker whatsoever. So let's go ahead and that is a very narrow seam allowance. But I'm gonna pin this and so you can turn it inside out so you can see it. I should have had some samples already made up. Let me do it this way. When I say this is narrow, this is narrow. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm trying not to poke myself. All right. So this works the same with not just since I'm showing it so narrow, this works the same with not just the hem of pants, but anything that you're hemming and you have a wider sleeve, you have a wider sleeve or wider area of fabric as opposed to the hem. If the body of the rest of the sleeve or the hem leg or pant leg is wider than the hem, you could run into that problem. But you can see that this is a smooth, clean finish, no puckering or anything like that. So once you stitch it in place, everything will lay smooth and flat. Otherwise, if you try to stitch it um, with it without making the adjustments, then that's when you're going to get that pucker. All right. So I hope that helps with that. And it works the same thing with a cuff. Um, works the same thing with the cuff that you'd have to make those adjustments the same. But you can see if this was just a straight cut, no angling, no narrowing or anything like that. And so when you make that straight cut and make a straight hem, you should have no problems um, turning this up. But that works the same way with your cuff. Even if you were doing a cuff and you had a narrow hem like that, wherever your fold lines are, that's where you need to make sure that you have a narrow. Everything below the finished hem should be more narrow of a seam allowance than the actual fullness of the pants. So I hope that makes sense. So that's basically it as far as the pants and him in the pants. I didn't want to do a whole lot as far as demonstrating that. Maybe once, I like to do work in progress type situations. So maybe if I have a pant or skirt or sleeve, as a matter of fact, I'll be working on this cuff or this duster that I'll be doing. It's more of a cuff on there, so that probably wouldn't equate to the same as what I'm doing right here. But we do have the pants that are coming up in the No Me 2069 pattern that we're doing the sew along with. But if you have any questions, let me know. I hope that helped. Let me know if that made sense to you at all. If it did make sense, I can explain it a little bit further. But as far as, yeah, I'm trying to get this camera adjusted. There we go. As far as the straight cuff, that's kind of self-explanatory. Now, if you have further issues with your pants and hemming those, more issues than what I just explained here, I hope that helps. I hope something that I said makes sense that will help you. If not, feel free to leave some questions, leave comments to so much talent at Yahoo. I'm sorry, yeah, you can email me your questions, so much talent at yahoo.com, or just join the group. Join the group, So Much Talent on Facebook. It's So Much Talent group. And at any given point in time, you can ask questions, and there'll be somebody there that can help you and assist you um, with those questions. All right, as always, my name is Alethea. I'll be looking out for your questions and comments. I'll be looking out for anything that'll help us make it work on Mondays. That can be anything from, um, sewing up buttonholes, fit adjustments, fit issues, whatever it is regarding sewing that you get stuck on. We want to make it work. So drop your questions and comments so we can get to those. All right. Well, thank you, Gwen. I appreciate you. Thank you for saying so. Sometimes I feel like I'm fumbling, trying to get out. I can see it in my head, but think I'm a little bit nervous too because I'm just getting back into this, trying to teach this online. But I appreciate you sharing that, and I will have more stuff to demonstrate. So I might even do like a offline video so I can get more thorough and show exactly what it is that I'm trying to show. But that's the overall of it. I wanted to show that part of it because I think in her comment that that's what her issue was, is that maybe there was more fabric above the hem than where it was actually hemmed, and so it wasn't meeting. That can be a big issue for a lot of people, not knowing what to do. You don't know whether to cut off and trim off the fuller part up at the top, and you don't want to do that, or you don't know what to do with the bottom part. So hopefully that helped. All right. But again, if you have questions, let me know. All right. That's just been a quick make it work Monday for you. Again, my name is Alethea. So come back, if you're not following, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the bell button as well so you can get the notification. So that way, when we do come back up for Make It Work Mondays, I'll be here. I'm also going to be doing So What Wednesdays. We're getting back to that. And you'll see all of this in my profile picture of what we're doing. So just haven't been doing it, but trying to get back to it. So, um, as always, we'll be doing So Let's Talk on Tuesdays. So, periodically, I'll interview somebody or we'll have different discussions on Tuesdays. So, that'll be coming up as well. So, Make It Work Mondays, So Let's Talk Tuesdays, and So What Wednesdays. So What Wednesdays can be anything from working on our sew along that we're doing. As a matter of fact, I have a sew along part two of the Know Me 2069 that so much talent is sewing along with this month of June. So I'll be coming back here before you on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This time we're actually going to be doing some sewing. So if you missed the first video of the Know Me 2069 sew along, in that video we were talking about some fit issues, not necessarily fit issues, but cutting out our patterns and giving some little tips about how to make your pattern fit, what to look for and what adjustments that you can make. So set your calendars for this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be going into part two where we'll actually be sewing along with Know Me 2069. That's Lynn Brandley's pattern. All right. Love y'all to life. Y'all have a blessed day. And thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to share this out. Have a blessed day.